Hi, everybody. So thank you again. I'm going to thank you every single time I come on. Thank you for following my journey, and thank you for being there and supporting and sharing my story with those around you. So today is part 5, the after effect of life after my weight loss surgery. So the after effect, that is like what happens after. What is life like after? Because there's so many things that come into play, and, you can never really know what life is going to be like afterwards. You can pretty much assume that you're going to lose some weight. You can assume that you're going to have to work hard, but, you really don't know what's coming after. And it's so different for everybody that it's really hard to generalize. So, I'm going to share how life was for me. After. It was a roller coaster, up and down. When I was in the hospital after the surgery, it was, great having the support, of the nurses around there, and everybody was coming to visit me and blah, blah, blah. It was, it was attention. It was cool. And I was still heavy and big, so, not much had changed. And that's how people had known me at that point. So that's where I was with that. So then you come home. And, everybody wants to take care of you. Everybody wants to help you. And, for a while you want that. You totally want that. But then at the same time, there's things that you want to, be independent about. So, trying to find the things that, can give you the sources of protein that you need, that was a struggle. And I have another part of my series that I will talk about nutrition and what I ate and all that stuff. So that will be coming. But, there's so many things. So, one of the things that is really hard, you kind of, there's a long recuperation time. You're dealing with, you don't want to leave your house for a while because you have drains and, it's just uncomfortable. It's a really super abrasive surgery and it's really, really uncomfortable. And I had it laparoscopically done and it was still super uncomfortable. So you really don't want to go anywhere. So you're in your home and, you can't really eat regular food for a really long time. So you're not going to go out to dinner. You're not going to go out partying with your friends. You're not going to any of that. So you become, you kind of stay in, you become a little bit of a hermit for a little bit. You still, I had friends that, came and visited me and all that stuff. So that was great. But, there was a certain level of anxiety that came when I was going somewhere, and I had talked about this in one of my other videos, when I was going somewhere and I was going to see people that I hadn't seen in a long time. And I had this whole buildup of anxiety, almost like the same anxiety if people hadn't seen you for 6 months and you gained 50 pounds. Well, I was having that anxiety after losing 50 pounds. I remember going and, I had shorts on for the first time. And trust me, they weren't shorts by any means, but they were shorts, more than what I would wear before. And, it was a 4th of July thing, and I had so much anxiety going on with me because it was all, being that focus of attention. And, what I really struggled with was that, oh my God, you look so great. And, and it's so, people are so loving and so kind and so supportive, but then you get to that, so how did you do it? And then I just went into this world of what do I say? At that point, I certainly wasn't at a level of my personal development that I am now. And I was still in that whole mode of feeling ashamed and like a failure and embarrassed and all that stuff. So I was kind of oh, it's been a rough, whatever. I don't even remember what I say. See, those are sometimes those things that you just kind of let go of. And, but then you also get those comments like, oh my gosh, you look so much better now. And, you get all that stuff coming, I'm so glad that you did something like that for yourself. And, that they are genuine. They're so happy for you that they did that. But then you go home and you process that stuff, and of course we process it to death. And we're like, God, did I really look that bad before? God, what did people think of me? And like I said again, now I preach it doesn't matter what people think of you, but back then, I was at a different place. So I was all about, what people thought of me and all that stuff. So, that was a lot to take in, and you just pretty much go home and you tear yourself apart. Could you imagine being somewhere, getting complimented, like up and down, and then going home and just completely tearing yourself apart for it, because of, you know, your past, because of where you were before. So that was a real struggle, and a struggle that I didn't see, a struggle that you didn't know, you know, that you didn't think was going to come up, you know. And then I got to a point where, you know, I got really, really obsessive. I talked about this in one of my other videos too. I touched on, you know, I got really obsessive with working out. And I was doing MMA, and I was there for as many classes that were being held during that day, morning, noon, and night. I was there for those. And, you know, I had so much fear of, you know, falling backwards, that I was like, I have to, if there's something available for me to do, I have to do it. And, you know, I had, at that point, this was like years later, this was probably, I don't know, maybe 4 years after my surgery. And I, you know, I had gained a little bit of weight back, you know, because then you know, it's not a lot. I mean, I had probably gained 10 or 15 pounds back, and I was like, okay, I have to, you know, get myself back on track. It's just, you have to do it the same way you would do it with anything else, you know, which goes into, you know, I'll go into on another part of my series, but, you know, how you maintain. So, you know, once you have the surgery, you are not like superhuman. Trust me, okay? You're not superhuman, and you do not have any special powers. Trust me. So you have to like learn those powers and build those powers yourself. But you know, so I went the other extreme, and I, you know, I lost some more weight, and I had lost more weight than I was originally at my lowest after my surgery. So, you know, with that being said, I felt good. You know, I was buying smaller clothes, all that kind of stuff. And I had a comment from somebody who, you know, said to me, you looked way better before. You're way too skinny right now. And I was like, what? You're way too skinny is something that I never, ever heard. And, you know, that's something that when you're a big girl, when you're 255 pounds, who wouldn't want, like, that would be like my world, like that would be the best thing to hear, is for somebody to say you're too skinny. Somebody said that to me, and it like literally was like a punch in the stomach. You know, I'm like, I've worked so hard to get here, and I, you know, I reacted to it a little bit, but I was just like, you know, I stood in where I was, and I was happy where I was. And you know, what happened was that person was filled in by somebody else on my history and where I was. And that person, you know, felt really bad, and she actually wrote me a card and a letter because she didn't realize where I was from. And, you know, what that brought up for me was that, you know, really to, you know, not take for granted, you know, and really pay attention to other people. You know, other people don't really, they don't get where you were. They just, you can't always assume that somebody knows where you were. You can't always assume that somebody knows how hard you worked. You can't always assume that everybody knows everything, even though I like to assume that everybody knows everything. But, you know, you can't do that. So, you know, I was glad that I didn't react in a way that would have made her feel bad, because she already ended up feeling bad. So really, it's a hard balance, because you're trying to balance your own, you know, your own self and your own reactions, but then you're also trying to balance somebody else's reactions, and you're in fear of what they're going to say next. You know, like, what is somebody going to ask me? What is going to be my answer? So it was kind of a constant living in fear. And, you know, I wish I had found all the amazing tools that I have now for personal development, because it certainly would have helped. But what I have now is the experience, and, you know, hopefully I can help somebody else, you know, see that stuff for themselves before they have to go through it. You know, one of the other things that was kind of funky was, you know, people not seeing me for a long time. Me and my husband John, we were out somewhere, and he had run into somebody from work, and they hadn't seen me obviously for a while, and they thought that he was with somebody else. They didn't even think it was me. So you can only imagine what can come, you know, what the potential is for that. So, you know, that whole not seeing people, the whole people not recognizing you, that's a whole other aspect of stuff. You know, I could be walking through the mall or walk through a store, and, you know, I'm still the same person. I still remember people. You know, nothing, my vision of people hasn't changed, but their vision of me has changed. So I could like be literally standing in front of somebody, and I recognize them, and they just walk right by me and don't recognize me. And it was kind of like, oh, hi, like that kind of thing. So, it was definitely uncomfortable with that too. Or, if you do go outside your comfort zone and you say hi to somebody and, they're like, oh my God, I didn't even recognize you. I didn't know that was you. And what have you done? And, oh my gosh, you look so great. And then you have to go into that whole other world of like, now I have to explain what I did and whatever. So, there's so many different levels of, what happens after and, how you deal with things and, your interaction with people. The last thing that I really want to touch on is, the after effect is, bottom line is there's skin. There's extra skin, and there's nothing that you can do about it unless you have it surgically removed. So that was a whole other sense of being insecure. It was almost like, I had lost all this weight and it was great and whatever, but I still couldn't wear the bathing suit that I wanted to wear. I still couldn't, there were still certain things that I couldn't do. I couldn't tuck in a shirt because of the extra skin and, the way that my pants would fit. So, it was great to have the numbers on the scale be lower and have, obviously my health was improving, huge, but to have, to still have all these other obstacles that, I didn't know. I didn't think about that stuff. Why would I think about that? So, you get, you have the extra skin, and with extra skin, you come, you can start to have sores, and it's uncomfortable and it's painful, and those are areas that can sweat when you're working out, so you can imagine how that went for me. Just super uncomfortable. And I did decide to have abdominoplasty, and I had that at the same time that I was having a hysterectomy. So what we did was we kind of, both of those doctors worked together out of Newton Wellesley, and they were absolutely amazing. And I had to, it was just something that I'm like, you know what, I have to have surgery anyway, and I've really been kind of toying with this. And, it wasn't because I wanted to wear my shirt tucked in. It wasn't because, it was just an insecurity that I had. I had all this extra skin in my belly, and it was uncomfortable, so more than just the appearance, it was really, really uncomfortable. And, going to the gym, and I didn't plan on that ending anytime soon. And, it just, things happened, and, you can get infections and all that stuff. So, I did opt to have that, not for the vanity, but for that. And, now I can wear a two-piece bathing suit. I can wear, of course I wear the skirt because I have not had the extra skin removed from my legs, which if I had to do one more surgery, I might think about doing that. It's hard because you work really, really hard, and you work out really hard, and then, you go and you get out of the shower and you stand in front of the mirror, and there's still all that. So that's a mental thing, definitely, for sure. But I don't let that, I'm like, it is what it is. I am who I am. If I'm walking on the beach and somebody doesn't want to talk to me because I have extra skin, then that's just how it has to be. But like I said, it's just kind of a mental thing for you. And, that's just, it's something to really get over, and will I have the extra skin on my legs removed? I don't really know, and maybe, depending on how much weight you lose, how tall you are, how, there's so many things that could, come into play, whether that extra skin shows or not. I've seen people that, have lost a ton of weight and they don't have the extra skin. And I'm like, dude, like, why? I'm so happy for you, but, how come I can't have that? So, there is always that little bit of like, how come it can't be like that for me, But I look back and I have had so much luck, and I have worked really, really hard, and, I haven't had the complications that could have been possible with this. So that's just, a few of the, those are the biggest things that I can think of, for the after effect of the surgery. And, you just, as far as relationships afterwards, some of those relationships can change too. You go from being, the fat friend to the not so fat friend. That can be tough for people around you. John did so great. I had touched on before that the doctor had said to him, you've been, she's been heavy for most of, your married life. Are you going to be okay if, she starts getting attention from people? And, he was like, yeah, totally. I'd be totally fine. And he's fine. He's totally cool with that. One thing that I did jump into though, after I lost my weight, which I wouldn't have done as I was heavy, I jumped into bartending, and that was so much fun. And the way that I've described bartending to one of my friends before was like, you know, when you're bartending, you're kind of on stage. You know, everybody needs you for something. Everybody can see you. You're never not right there. You're never not in the you know, everybody's spotlight. You're in the eye. And, you know, it was like, you know, I did that, you know, to step out of my comfort zone, you know, and I did that because I loved people, and it was just something that I always wanted to do. So I was able to check that off my bucket list, and I had so much fun doing it. I met the best people. I've worked in the best places, and, you know, I'm really lucky that that was something that I was able to do and check off my list. So, if there's any other questions that you guys have, I would love to answer them. So, you know, definitely just, you know, shoot me a message or a comment under the video or whatever. I'm really, you know, I'm really working hard to share this, and, you know, I don't want to leave anything out for anybody that has any questions. And, you know, as always, you know, share this with somebody that you know that may be thinking about it, or somebody that may have had it done, or somebody that had it done and they're struggling. You know, I'm here, and that's what I'm here for, and that's why I'm sharing my journey. So you guys have a great day. I will see you for part 6 tomorrow. So have a wonderful day again, and thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. All right, have a great day. Bye.